I had an encounter. An encounter? What? I had an encounter not too long ago with a old friend of mine, and he reached out after I posted like a first time in a while, and it was kind of just getting caught up a little bit, and we went back and forth, and then all of a sudden he mentioned, oh my goodness, he mentioned moving back up to where I used to live and doing some work up there. Which caught me off guard because of how long I'd been gone, right? I've been gone for like 4 years or so. And because I had just got into a apartment and just signed a lease, I was kind of explaining that whole situation, and with my sister and everything, I couldn't really move for at least another year. And so we talked about that a little bit. And later in this story, I'll get into it in a second, but I think I made a pretty big mistake in this situation. And I didn't realize I made it at the time because I thought this is someone that I kind of looked up to for a long time. And so I made, in this case, a mistake. I felt like I needed to impress him because I did look up to him, and he's probably one of the few people that I did, in a way. And so we were talking back and forth, and this was all over text message too. And I explained, like, I can't move up there right now for like at least another year. And then we started talking about some of the business, and he mentioned something about marketing, and in my opinion, like I can market, but I don't really think that I'm adept. I just know some of the main points, main takeaways, right? I can get attention to a degree, but I'm not super, super good at it, right? Not like all these people that are making millions. And so he mentioned something about marketing and that side of the business, and I was like, oh yeah, sure, I could definitely help. And then maybe that was when it happened, but I think there was something else that was talked about, and then this is where I made the big mistake. And because I looked up to him, like, I didn't want to just sound like I didn't know anything or that I couldn't help, right? So any knowledge that I thought I had, I looked into his stuff and made the conclusion that I logically thought made sense, right, at the time. And lo and behold, it was not the right decision, and at least in my opinion. Like, I know I could, no matter what the outcome was, I know I could have approached it better. And so, trying to flex my knowledge of the space, I responded in a way that was more direct and more like specific. So I was saying this thing, this thing, this thing, stuff like that. And in my mind, I'm just offering what I thought was good advice at the time. But it's also over text message, which is the first mistake, right? You don't want to have those kind of conversations over text unless you're really, really close. You use all the emojis or whatever, right? It's hard to pick up off of what people are saying over text, which is why I don't enjoy texting very much, but I will. That was one of the things that I messed up on. the other thing is, I was, if you looked at the text, it looked like I was just degrading and putting down what he had already. So I didn't approach the situation right at all. And in my mind, I was trying to help, and I thought I was helping, right, by pointing out things that could be better, that I thought could be better, right, for the situation. And I went back and looked at it not long, maybe a day or so after, and I was like, wow, I really just kind of went to town, and pointed out things that if someone's asking for help, you're like, yeah, we can help, and then sit down and you do it with them, right? You don't want to. And my only intention was to try and help, and I just completely butchered that, which was not my intention at all. So when I sent it, I thought for sure I was adding some value and being helpful. And looking back at it now, I'm not too sure about that. I wanted him to feel impressed with, how much progress I've made since I've been gone, and I thought this was the way to do it, right? At least in this specific niche. And so that's what I did, and I thought I was doing the right thing, but in reality, I ended up doing the opposite of what I wanted to do, right? And I sounded completely arrogant, and like opposite of humble. And it seemed like I was just attacking him. At least if I read it now and someone sent it to me, I would be like, holy crap, like, dang, you really got specific on me, right? And while I like that kind of approach, if someone did that to me, telling me everything I'm doing wrong, that's not the best way to go about things. I mean, I like the direct approach, but we're only human, right? And so by the time I put those pieces together, it was too late. But I did remember a pretty valuable lesson from this, and that's don't put the other person down while trying to be helpful. And if there's something that should be changed, or that you think should be changed, introducing it in a different way then what I did is probably the best idea, right? I did the exact opposite of what you should do. So if you use the process of inversion, it's like, don't do that, right? And also, don't be overly specific. And what I mean by this is, if someone's asking you for help, just help them. Like, you don't have to go overly in detail and then make it sound overwhelming, and then that just kind of throws people off and makes them want to go away, in a way. Like, I think especially in this situation, just help them. If you have something that you want to get out of it, like a business deal or something, then obviously you introduce that. But if you're just like, I just wanted to help, and I ended up pushing someone that I valued away. So yeah, helping. I wouldn't do what I did. I would say, yeah. If I had to do it over again, I'd be like, yeah, I can help. Like, tell me what you need help with, and then I can figure something out. Which is, in a normal conversation, that's what I try and do anyways. It's just in this specific, this is one of the few people that I actually looked up to for a long time. And I felt the need to try and impress him, which is weird because I don't feel that way with anyone. And I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about that, but all because I had that mindset going into it. I was like, oh, this is my perfect chance to try and impress someone, or to try and impress this guy. And I ended up doing the opposite. And so I guess there's another lesson in there and people, I mean, you should know this by now, is don't try and impress people on purpose. Right? Just be your own person. And doing this back and forth that I did, I wasn't being completely myself, which is the kind of person who does just try and help, or at least I like to think so, right? Instead, I had this idea that I needed to impress him, and it took me completely out of my normal talking style and conversational approach, and it was just a big mistake on my part. But yeah, so it's a valuable lesson for me. Uh, don't put other people down to flex your skills. If you want to help, just help. You don't have to be overly specific. You just help them get there, and then if they ask along the way, help them connect the dots. Right? That's kind of what leadership is, and you don't need credit for that. And I think that's deep down. I think that's a little bit of what I was trying to do, is get a little bit of credit. So don't do that.